So yeah, I'm here to talk about bringing Web3 to the Web2 community. Just first off, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And yeah, I've been really impressed with everything so far. To introduce myself, my name is Brennan Lamey. I have an engineering background, a little bit of computer science, but I've been picking that up over the past year. I'm very new to the Arweave community. I'd been looking around for a couple months, sort of trying to throw together a sustainable business model, looking at opportunities. To give you an idea of how new I am currently 1 week into the 2-week notice I gave my employer so that I can come and do this full time. So I'm very new. My project is called Ecclesia, but that's not really what I'm here to talk to you guys about today. I'm actually here to talk to you guys about something that I'm actually probably more excited about this talk than the Ecclesia talk, because I think it's a very interesting discussion. So to start, we can sort of just cover crypto adoption. In the recent bull run, we've seen crypto gain wide-scale, fairly wide-scale commercial adoption. Tesla now accepts payments in Bitcoin. Visa can now settle transactions with USDC. PayPal accepts crypto. Coinbase just recently IPO'd and is currently valued more than, I believe, any bank. And so what that means is that, different from the 2017 bull run, crypto really is here to stay, because now it's being tied into pre-existing, societal systems. But what that really means is that, the top cryptos are guaranteed to stay. For all intents and purposes, we'll just call this Bitcoin and Ethereum. Obviously, what everyone here is interested in is, does that include Arweave? And I think a better way to visualize this would be to look at the technology adoption lifecycle. So to sort of just briefly cover the technology adoption lifecycle, it starts with innovators. Innovators, they come, they build the new system, and they really they love the building aspect. I'd say that's a lot of people who are here. Then there are the early adopters. Early adopters still love, they love the technological challenge. They love the learning curve. They know that there's problems with the technology, but they see the promise. Next, you have the early majority. This is the first major population where it gains wide-scale adoption. Later you have the later majority who, they're maybe not itching to get in on new technology. They'll use it if it's convenient and if they really have to. But in general, they'll be coming a lot later in the life cycle. And then finally, you have the laggards, where just on a pound for pound basis, probably not worthwhile trying to chase down laggards. Maybe they come in, maybe they don't. The chasm is something that was proposed in Geoffrey Moore's book, Crossing the Chasm. I would highly recommend you guys read it, because I think it could do a lot to change your perspective on sort of where crypto is going, especially after this bull run, because it can't go up forever. And so the chasm, which I'll dive into a little more later, is essentially where tech fails. A lot of tech startups, they will reach the early adopter stage, but for them to reach early majority, there are some extra things that need to take place, and he calls this the chasm. To sort of put the technology adoption lifecycle into more concrete terms, we can sort of look at where current cryptos are measuring up. So Bitcoin and Ethereum, I would say probably just recently passed into the early majority. They're being integrated into current systems, Visa, PayPal, Tesla, and so they're here to stay. Next, in the late early adopter cycle, we have like Solana and Filecoin. Filecoin's been getting a lot of press from the Chinese government for good. It's been helping them. Solana has Serum and a lot of fairly big name projects being built on top of them, but they certainly have not crossed over into the mainstream. They're here to stay. There still is something that could go wrong with their adoption. I would put Arweave right in between the innovators and the early adopters. And so the main reason I do that is just looking at the demographics of the people who are here today. There are a lot of people who are here who are building the Web3 ecosystem. And there are also a lot of people here who they're not necessarily building the ecosystem, but they're utilizing the ecosystem to advance, their other projects. I think a great example of this, and we're going to hear from them later, is Arcade City, pre-existing business, but they're coming to Arweave to integrate because they see the value out of it. That's an early adopter. And so currently, Arweave is building for early adopters, and that's absolutely a good thing. But we have to keep looking towards the future and see, what does Arweave need to do in order to achieve early majority status? The main thing that's stopping someone from achieving the early majority is the chasm. The chasm is where tech fails to reach mainstream adoption. How it goes is, innovators, they come, they begin building, and early adopters sort of follow. If you build it, the early adopters will come. And Arweave is currently building for early adopters, and that's a great thing. It's a very critical part in the adoption process. But what a lot of people fail to recognize is that the early majority does not have the same incentives as an early adopter, and they will not come to you. To paraphrase Geoffrey Moore, people often fail to see that appealing to the early majority is very different from appealing to early adopters. It's just fundamentally a different strategy. And so as we start approaching the chasm as a community, it's important to see what we need to do to make sure that we don't fall into that chasm. So to specifically lay out what the chasm would look like for Arweave, and this is my personal opinion. There's several different ways to look at this, but there's two ways we can split it up. One is for the learning curve, and two is for the technical limitations of Arweave. So first, for the learning curve, users having to manage their wallets, having to understand what a crypto wallet is, and signing transactions. That's just a part of Web3, and that's a necessary process. Second is buying crypto, going through an exchange, the easiest way for someone to get cryptocurrency, which is something that AR is running into right now, and then requiring a user to understand crypto. Next, down to the technical limitations. Arweave has a lot of scalable potential, but in its current state is not super scalable. And the reason I say this is because 1,000 transactions per block, a rough block time of 2 minutes, and so that you're getting about 8.3 transactions per second. There's also a problem, and it kind of comes and goes with rejected transactions. But the good news for Arweave is that there's a very clear path forward to building around this technical limitation. First, to start with, the learning curve and building for the early majority, there's really two things that that the Arweave ecosystem needs to do to build for the early majority: provide high utility and as low a learning curve as possible. For my DApp, Ecclesia, that would mean no wallet management. Users don't need to know what a wallet is in order to use it. They don't need to go through an exchange or use VPN. When I had to go and get Arweave to begin developing, I made a Coinbase account, bought Bitcoin, got a VPN, connected to MXC, transferred my Bitcoin there, bought Arweave, and transferred to my account. Users aren't going to do that. For Ecclesia, our goal is to have 1 minute onboarding times, and that's really just because we don't think the early majority is going to put in the effort to reach our technology, especially when there's so many other great alternatives, well, semi-great alternatives in the Web 2 world. Overall, I guess you could characterize it as users should not need a prior knowledge of crypto in order to use our platform to its fullest. And obviously this, sort of wanes depending on what you're building. If you're building something regarding NFTs or rewarding users with cryptocurrency, then that changes a little bit. But just, for our use case, as an example, for Ecclesia's use case, that's sort of what we're looking at for building for the early majority. Now, we have a couple solutions. This is one that I've put together, and it's basically a small encryption library that it's in JavaScript, and it allows for users to store their Arweave private key on Arweave. It does this through using AES 256 encryption. It uses the username as a password salt, so this makes it protected against rainbow hash tables. If that sounds a little confusing to you, it's very similar to what Phil brought up about ArDrive earlier in their encrypted system. It's a very similar system to the end user. It's just a typical username password flow. So we have this done, and you guys are welcome to use this if you want. There's no fees. If you guys want to use it, definitely just come use it. And so I haven't released it publicly. The main reason is I haven't had time to put together a security guide to make sure that you don't use it incorrectly and then lose all your AR. But if you want to use this, reach out to me, and I'll just kind of tell you what you need to make sure you don't do so that you use this correctly. Another solution for crossing the chasm, this is something that we have not built, this is a little more prospective, would be a bundler system. And this is where solving the technical limitations of Arweave would have some major potential. How I would envision something like this is, it would accept data, it would bundle the items, it would, they would compete to submit it to the Arweave blockchain. The person submitting it would submit USDC, which is held in a Solidity smart contract, and that's awaiting an oracle that can essentially prove that the bundled items have been mined onto the Arweave blockchain. This solves the problem of the rejected transaction IDs. And also, for those that aren't aware, bundles in Arweave, you can bundle, near arbitrary amounts of transactions. I think Sam once told me that they bundled 600,000 transactions into one bundle and submit it to the Arweave blockchain. And it counts on the Arweave blockchain as just one transaction. And so this is how Arweave can essentially achieve infinite scalability while also solving the rejected transaction IDs. These bundlers would also make crypto highly available to users because the bundler would be submitting their own AR and in exchange take something that's way easier for people to get, like USDC. There's a lot of fiat to crypto APIs that support USDC, Matic-based USDC. It can run through smart contracts and has near zero transaction fees. That's just one example. And then finally, you'd want to integrate this with the gateway. To be clear, this is not something I've built yet. And if I do build this, it will not be a part of Ecclesia. It will be for the entire Arweave ecosystem. This is just one means to go about an end of crossing the chasm so that the Arweave ecosystem can reach broader adoption. And so what this really boils down to, at least in my mind, is the community's fight for permanence. And this isn't permanence on the Arweave blockchain. This is for permanence in general society. We're in a major crypto bull run right now, and virtually every crypto that's worth anything is gaining immense traction. But this can't go up forever. And when the dust settles, I don't think there will be as many mainstream cryptos as there are right now. And that kind of begs the question, what cryptos will remain once crypto becomes more normalized and it's not such a hyped up bull run? If you buy into the technology adoption lifecycle, then the logical answer for that is those who build for mass utility and mass use will be the ones who are there remaining at the end of the day. That's what made Henry Ford's Model T successful. That's what made Steve Jobs' personal computer successful. I believe that if the community acts correctly, that's what will make Arweave successful. Obviously there are some things here that can certainly be left up to interpretation, and there's a lot of different ways for going about this. And so I'd really love to discuss with people on how they think the best way to go about this would be. If you agree with me, if you think I might have somewhat missed the mark, or you want to discuss some possible solutions, my contact info is right there, because I'd really love to talk to you guys about how we can achieve bringing Arweave into the mainstream, because I think that's something that's just vitally important for technology that not a lot of people have in the forefront of their minds. Thank you.